Hi everybody, it's me again. Woo, Teverz. As always. Okay, part 2 of my life. Last video was foundations, give you a start about my life. But to understand a lot about my life, you need to know about certain things or more in my life. And the one thing I wanted to talk today was about heroes in my life. And I've had a few of them. Heck, Martin Luther King, JFK, my dad, but I have one special hero that I really want to talk about because this person was absolutely the most amazing of all of them. So, who is that absolute most amazing person in my world? My mom. Get a little teary-eyed. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. So, sorry. This might be a little bit longer of a video. And you're probably going to get through part of this video and you're going to wonder, like, why the heck did I call my mom my hero? Well, I'll tell you why. To the good part, but watch the whole video to the end. And guys, if you really like this video, share it. This is an amazing story for me. Okay, so I love my mom because almost all of the values that I have and the things that I cherish in life are things that my mother had taught me, embedded into me growing up. My honesty, the belief that a man is not a man unless he lives by his word. And although my mom taught me that equality was extremely important, still would beat me over the head if I wasn't chivalrous and still open the door for a lady. But no, truth, just let you know, I open the door for everybody, not just women. And just to let you know that equality chivalry battle has been going on my whole life and probably will till the day I die. But there were many, many things that my mom offered me. And I love that. And there goes my dogs. Okay. A little bit about my life story, and then I'm going to tell you a bit about my mom's story. Okay, so let's start with my life, and this is the part that's probably going to worry you a bit. Okay, guys, so born in the 60s. My mom was 14 years old when she gave birth to me. 15 years old when she gave birth to me, 14 when she got pregnant with me. Alright, so just so you know that. I grew up a very hard life. Being the oldest, corporal punishment was not an uncommon thing in our house, and it wasn't nice at all in my life. I let you know that, belt buckles, wooden canes, there were a lot of things used upon me for punishment. And being the oldest, I not only took the punishments for things that I had done wrong, I would take the punishments for a lot of the other things that went on in the house. Like if my sister stole a pair of wedding ring, or my mom's wedding rings once, put it in the drawer. She was 4 years old when she did that. She just thought they were pretty and asked us, and my sister said, I don't know, and I got the beating for it. And that's, I don't want to go a lot into my life because, guys, there's more to learn about this, and you're going to love what I get to it. So, rough life. I want to tell you about the day that I left home and never went back. And I was 17 years old. And I had got into a fight with my sister the night before, and my sister chased after me with a knife, and I pushed something in her way, and it bruised her leg. Now, I was protecting myself personally because my sister had a knife in her hands. But I knew that was going to mean a heavy punishment to me. And my mom came home the next day. My sister had already told her what was going on. I got home from school, and my mom was waiting for me, and I could tell that look on her face. It meant that I was going to get a beating. I didn't want it anymore. So, dramatic pauses, I get it. I started running away, and my mom chased me down the street, and finally I stopped where it was in public and nobody could, she couldn't hurt me. And I made her promise that she wasn't going to beat me, that she would listen to me. And we went home, and I just let you guys know I grew up in a Christian house, and that'll be another discussion. And I made her put her hand on the Bible, and I made her swear, don't hurt me. Mom sent me up to the room, and about 10 minutes later, she came up and she had her cane in her hand, and told me that I need to be punished. Raised the cane up. I took the cane out of her hand because in my life I had enough, and I raised the cane above my head to and hit her, and all that went through my head is, oh my God, I'm like her. I dropped the cane down. I walked out the door. I never went back. I slept in cars for about 3 weeks. Yeah. Until some of my family found me. Finally, they made me go and stay with them. Didn't talk to my mom for a few years. Okay. So, I'm not crying because I'm sad. My mom died 11 years ago. And what you need to know is in those 17 years of my life that I might have been beaten, but never verbally or mentally abused ever. There wasn't a day that went by that I was loved. Yeah, it can be confusing when you're being beaten, but I promise you, Mom never had a problem showing us love. I mean real love. Especially me. I didn't know that till later. And what really hurt that day, the most of all, was that in my entire life, we didn't lie. Never. No. You learn that quite easily in Mom's house. Don't lie. It's much better. You get less punishment if you just tell the truth. So we never lied. And that day she lied to me. And it took me many, many years to forgive her for that. Because she's the person I trusted the most. And even if I'm going to get beaten, she still lied. And that was an unacceptable thing in our house. Now, like I said, why did I have a good life? Why is my mom my hero? Well, let me tell you about my mom's life. So my mom's 14 years old. And she got pregnant. And I knew that part growing up. And I knew a lot of the story for the most part. So I'm going to tell you that my grandmother was forcing my mom to put an adoption up for me. I spent the first 6 months of my life in a hospital because my mother had to take it to court to fight against her mother. And at 15, you don't have a lot of rights. And one of my other heroes, my grandfather, he sat with my mom and he asked my mom, what do you really want? And my mom said, I want to keep him. And my grandfather okayed it. Now, that was pretty well the end of my relationship between my grandmother and my grandfather, because you didn't dare go against my grandmother, and my grandfather did for my mom and for me. I miss him too. Hard video, guys, sorry. So 15 years old, there's no welfare. If you want to raise a child, you have to work full-time. I had got forced to live with my grandmother. At that stage in my life, my grandmother hugely resented me. I was the beginning of my corporal punishment for me. I played on the cement stairs. My grandmother told me that I needed to get off those, and when I didn't listen to her, she pushed me down the stairs, cracked my skull. Good thing I was a kid, extremely Another time, I kept putting my hand on the ironing board. I still have a scar on my hand for where my grandmother put the iron on my hand. And these are the things. So, you know, I go home, and my mom would cry. At this point in life, she would cry because she knew what was happening, and she couldn't help it, because the truth is, she had no other support. I didn't understand that for many years. So the first 5 years, I blamed my mom for torturing me by letting me be with my grandmother and going through all that pain. But I didn't understand it until later. Now, the rest of the story was, what I didn't know about was that my mother was raped, and repetitively raped, and by somebody who I know of, who they are, and when I see them in public, it's the only person in this world that I want to kill. Not that I'm going to kill them, and here I'm confessing on here, so if he ever dies, I could be blamed for it, but I have so much anger that comes through me when I see him. It takes people to hold me back. I blame him for a lot of shit for my life. A lot. Okay. The other thing that I didn't know about my mom's life was what her home was like. Okay. In her home, her dad was never allowed to hug her. Her dad was never allowed to express that he loved her. Hugs were not allowed in the house, period. That was, sinful. My mother would rarely ever hear the words, "I love you," growing up. You were the obedient child. Shut the fuck up. Sit back and, just be a child. Be an obedient child. And that was my mom's life. And my mother went to my grandmother when she had been raped. And my grandmother called her a slut and a whore. And my mom was just a kid. Sorry. The fact that any kid had to go through that from their own mother sickened me, and humanity. And a lot of people don't know, when my grandmother died, I would not even go to the funeral. I wouldn't even recognize, be there, because of the things in my life. So I find out about this about my life, and I look at my life, and you know what? Yeah, my mother beat me. Without a shadow of a doubt, I'm not going to deny that. But I still had an amazing life. An absolutely amazing life, because, like I said, I knew what love was. There wasn't a day to go by I didn't know about love. My mother's the one who told me that you can be anything you want. You're the only person that's going to stop you from doing whatever you want. And because of that, I've lived my life like that. Because of that, the honesty part, I don't lie to people. I don't ever lie to people. I don't lie to anybody. If I don't want to tell you something, I won't tell you it. And I'll tell you I won't tell you it, but I'll never lie. And that's things that my mom gave me, the gifts that my mom gave me. The ability to love people, to not judge people, to look at everybody as an equal. And it doesn't matter if they're a druggie, or if they're a millionaire. Everybody's the same. To all of us, we're all human. Human. I don't care if you're black, white, red, purple, green. I don't care. I don't care if you want to suck the apples off of an apple tree, or that you're interested in somebody from the same sex. I don't care. To me, every single one of you people they're human, and it's my mother who taught me that. Now, I spent years angry at my mother, and for most of those years, from the time I was 17 until the time I was 40 years old, I rarely talked to my mother in those years, and even then it was extremely on guard, and I really wouldn't get close to her, and I wouldn't allow her to get close to me. And when I was 35, my mom tried to make up to me. She bought me a gift that actually meant a lot. I still have it, by the way. I cherish everything that my mother did give me. Mad. On my 40th birthday, so you guys should know, in future things, at 35 was a traumatic change in my life and the healing path from there. And I will get to that in another video. But at 40 years old, I thought to myself, I haven't bought my mother a birthday present in many, 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 many years. And as a matter of fact, I had this craving about what to get my mom. And, at first it was like, just get something, because I don't want to, be too. And then my mother is like me. Okay, what do you get somebody who has everything they want in life? And the truth is, it's the people around us. And we're going to do another video on that meaning and how I get there in my life. But what do you get somebody who has everything? Well, I decided I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to write a letter to tell her I'm sorry. And the truth is, I was originally going to start the letter, ask her to forgive, ask for her to say sorry to me. And I started writing the letter, and I figured I'll start it off with my side first. And I wrote started writing this letter. And the truth is, I never asked her to say sorry to me once in the entire letter. As a matter of fact, I begged her forgiveness for taking those years away from her. And I started writing about all the good things in my life. And the letter ended up being about 12 pages long, double-sided, roughly. And it was only filled with stories that I remembered things that I had forgotten all my life that just flooded out. We were doing the city championships for baseball. And seniors, last year in seniors, my last year of baseball as a kid. And we were playing against the person from the other side of town for the city championships. And we were the better team, by far, and I loved baseball. And we had an extremely bad umpire who kept making numerous calls against us that weren't. And you can't argue, because according to the league, the umpire was always right, and there was nothing to get against it. But he was allowing calls for the other side and dinging us constantly. And by the time that we got to the fourth inning, we were 11 runs down, despite the fact that we were a better team. And we were still playing good. But by the fourth inning, this is my ball. So my mom is this 400-pound woman. She's 6'1". I'm 5'10" and shorter. She's 6'1". She gets out of that stand. She goes all the way down to the umpire. And I swear to you, she was going to beat the crap out of him. That's the look on her face. She started yelling at him about how unfair it was to me, to the rest of the kids on this team. But out of all these parents that were in the stadium, my mother is the only one that stood up for us. This is my mom and what my mom would do. So don't tell me my mom didn't love me, because my mom did love me. Those are the things that I remember. Her pushing me at things, that stuff. Anyway, the stories went on in the letter. And like I said, 12 pages later, I put it in my mom's mailbox. And ran away. I did not ring the doorbell, didn't do nothing. I ran away. And I figured I wasn't expecting anything back, because out of all the years that gone by, pretty well the damage was done, and probably not a chance of mending at all. And then a month later, just before Father's Day, my mom calls me. And she's like, I accept your apology. She says, I want you to know that I have another family in my life, and you need to respect that. And I'm like, okay. And then we just started talking. And 6 hours later, we stopped talking. The thing that I never said at the beginning of this video was that my mom was my best friend growing up. I could talk to my mom about anything. And when that 6-hour call was done, we were both in that same place again. Now that was June, and within a couple of weeks, I'll let you know that my mom and I were on the phone every single night, never less than 3 hour phone call, up until pretty well close to the time she passed away. But so that was in June. Before the end of July, we now have a date night once a week. It was Friday night, and my partner at the time was to come as well, and my mom and I would go play NTN at Boston Pizza, have fun. We had a ball. My mom was always one of those people that didn't like losing, but my mother was extremely smart. Though I did the Mensa test and scored higher there, and she pissed her off. But anyway, that went on and on and on. And Christmas, I got invited to be the Santa Claus for the family dinner. I hadn't been to that dinner for ages. And I played the Santa role that year and loved it. It was an honor for me that my mom asked me to do that. I bought my mom a computer, taught my mom how to play on the computer, how to use the computer. Oh my gosh, I'd get phone calls. How do you copy and paste? So I bought my mother the video professor, and that didn't help because she's like, I don't know how to work the DVD player, so I'm screwed. So I spent a lot of time with my mom's teaching me how to use the computer. And I would date night. If something happened and we had to miss date night, we had to make it up the next week. So 2 date nights the next week, or 3 after if you missed that one too. That was absolutely the rule, because there was no way that Mom or I, either one of us, truthfully, were giving up on that night. We both loved. We spent the whole night playing games. And then in February, my mother had to go down to medical procedure, or somebody did. And I remember how it had got warm the day before, and it got really freezing that night. And I remember calling my mother at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I said to her, I says, don't leave now. I says, wait for another 4 hours, because there's parts on the highway that you have to travel that are dangerous, and if it's icy, it's dangerous. I said, if you leave in 4 hours, when you get to that part, it's going to be warm today, the ice would have melted. My mom's stubborn. Oh heck, that's where I get it from. She's like, I'll be fine. I'm like, okay, but I'm just going to tell you I'm worried. Call me when you get to the hotel. So she was supposed to be at the hotel by 2 o'clock from the road plans that she told me. At 11 o'clock in the morning, I had a very sickening feeling, and I couldn't peg it. And at 2 o'clock, we got a phone call. And I looked at my partner and said, I'm not answering that. It's bad. It's real bad. So she answered, and it was the police. Your mom's died. Died in a car accident. I broke down. Actually, not the worst day of my life. I've still got the other one to tell, and that's be in some future video too. But to lose my best friend, the thankful thing that I got out of that is that I'm so glad I could make up to her. Because if she had died, I couldn't. I wouldn't have been able to live with that, ever. So, my mom is my hero. I miss her. I miss her tremendously. But the truth is, she was always here. She's never left. I still get a swat in the back of the head when I don't open the door for a lady. And I still chuckle. I can still feel it. So, what an amazing woman, guys. And I thank you for watching this video. And I hope you understand that, my moral to this whole thing was, yes, we can be hurt. And when we're hurt, It'll block out the stuff around us that we miss. We want to hang on to that anger, and I hanged on to it for so many years. Don't ever be like, don't do what I did. Please don't do that. It's not worth it. Because when I let the anger go, I'm telling you right now that percentage-wise, the amount of stuff that went on that hurt me in my life was about 1% of all the things that were fantastic in my life. And I'm so glad I have all those memories. Even the bad times were funny on a lot of occasions. We grew up poor. We didn't have a lot of support. We learned that family was absolutely the most important thing. That was the other thing that Mom taught us. That no matter how much money you have, it didn't make a difference in the world. Because the people around you are the ones that mattered the most. That was your wealth. And I am still that way today. From my family, my friends, my partners. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for everything, Mom. So, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Sorry I'm a little emotional. I'll get some Kleenex in a moment. I get that. But life's too short, guys. Don't ever think that you can make up for something tomorrow, because I guarantee you tomorrow never comes. Don't do that. And don't ever let the sun go down angry with anybody. If you can find a way to mend it, do it. It's not worth it to give up time for those people that you love. Not. Because they can die tonight. And then what are you going to do, huh? That's my question. Alright, guys. Get out there. Go have fun. Go have fun with somebody you want to have fun with. Because remember, life's too short. Bye for now, guys.